It's no secret that the strip club is not a place for the Puritans, but when you hear the story of this former stripper, you might think twice next time you think about setting foot in that place.
And I remember parking my car, hitting my blunt, taking a shot, grabbing my work bag, and heading into the club to the dressing room to dress up. And I started my night like normal. I got changed. I did my hair. I did my makeup. I checked in. I went out to the dance floor. I gave the DJ my ticket so that he could announce me. And I waited for my regular. And I had a regular who would come in every week. And every time he would come, now thinking back on it, it's kind of crazy. Every time he would come, he always wanted to have this crazy spiritual experience. And I never put much thought to it. I was just like, okay, you're going to help me meet my quota for the night so that I don't have to owe back house at the end of my shift. But he would come in with anklets. He would come in with gifts and presents all the time. And every time we would dance, he would always say these, little chants and, look at me in my eyes and stuff. And I was just like, okay, maybe this is his thing. Maybe this is his fetish, just what he's into. And as an entertainer, your job is to fulfill their fantasy. So I never really thought much of it or him until this night. And I remember the DJ called me on stage. I did my set. And I came back down and he was waiting for me by the bar. And we did our usual. We started the night off. We went to the back. We did a 5 for 50 dance. And I was going to start my dance like I normally do. And I want to paint a picture really quick because I need you guys to understand how dramatic this was. The rooms they have curtains and it's just a chair with a carpet and a little stand right there where you put your money and your keys, your car, whatever that they have in their pockets. And it's red light. So it's all dark except for red light. And the walls were black and he sat down and he did his thing. And the bouncer that checks in's all the way at the front. So we're in the corner room all the way in the back. And the bouncer that checks us in for the dance is all the way at the front. So we close the curtain and I start doing my thing. I turned around and I'm drunk, I'm high, but I'm still in my senses. I'm lit enough to the point where I can perform and be loose, but not to the point where I'm don't know what's going on. I'm still in my right mind. I can still drive, I can still focus, but I took enough to take the edge off, to take that heaviness that I was feeling coming into work.
Yeah, and you were doing that often too. This important to mention it, that it was your routine. You were doing that every time you were going to work.
Oh
it's
my
not
goodness.
That night that you did something different. That was the same thing as you were always doing. It was the same guy that you were always seeing.
Every night. Mind you, I was smoking drinks since I was 14. This was not something that I was a lightweight, this is stuff I've always done. So I was still in my right mind, but I wasn't down. So I started my dance. I had turned around and when I turned back around, because he was sitting in the chair watching, when I turned back around, the Holy Spirit allowed me to see who I was really dancing for, who I was really entertaining. And when I turned to look at him, my regular wasn't my regular anymore. He still had a human body of a man. He was still wearing what he was wearing, but his face was distorted. He had sharp teeth. His eyes were black and he just had this nasty look on his face, this nasty perverted lust, but the kind of lust where you're oh my God, I'm in trouble, kind of don't look at me like that. I literally felt fear and disgust flood over me. I was so afraid of what I was seeing that I literally grabbed my heels and I ran back to the dressing room. I left him there. And as I was running through the crowd, it was packed. It was a Friday night. It was a Friday or a Saturday night. So the club was packed. And I remember some older guys were by the bar and they turned around. They were reaching out. They're hey, let's go get a 2 for $25. But as I was looking at them, I was literally seeing them in the spirit realm. So I was literally seeing the spirits that they were carrying. I was literally seeing the demonic presence that were on him. Even the women, there was women that were on stage and their face was flashing and distorting. And I was sweating. I was getting flashes. I completely like ran to the back. And I remember as I was running through the back, the doors were swinging behind me. And I got into the dressing room and there was girls still getting ready because mind you, I had just started my shift. It had to be like um close to midnight around there. And oh, I remember some girls were still getting ready and the floor runners were there. And they're like, come on, everybody out to the dance floor. The owner's watching. The owner's watching. Like, we need all dancers to the floor. All dancers to the floor. Come on, girl. Come on. And I was like, I can't. I feel sick. I'm not going out there. I feel disgusted. And I was just sweating. I felt like my life was like literally like I was getting hot flashes. And I remember just sitting there and I just felt so hot. And everyone had left the room. And as soon as everyone left the room, I felt the Holy Spirit come into the dressing room. And I was still so like freaked out of my mind. And I was like, God, I don't want to be here no more. God, I don't want to do this anymore. God, get me out of here, God. God, if you get me out of here, Lord, I promise I'm so serious this time. If you get me out of here, God, I promise I'll leave. I'll forgive him, God. I'll forgive him, God. I'll do what it needs to do, God. I know that it's going to be hard, but if you get me out of here, God, God, if you get me out of here right now, God, I'll follow you. I don't care. Just get me out of here because I'm afraid. I'm afraid, God. And I heard him, he was like, come on, let's go. And I remember getting changed really fast. I grabbed my bags. I didn't even pay house because you have to pay to check in and you have to pay to check out. I didn't wait for the bouncer to walk me to my car because you had to wait for them to walk you to your car in case there were stalkers, in case there were guys watching you, watching the parking lot, because the parking lot where we parked at was on this side and the parking lot that the customers parked at was on this side. So it was literally like anyone could just walk there. So normally there was a bouncer in the middle door that would watch the women smoke cigarettes and then would walk them to the car at the end of the shift. I didn't care about none of that. I had the Holy Spirit with me. I ran to my car and I never looked back.
Thank you for watching this clip of the Almost False podcast. If you want to watch the full interview, click on the video right here. And if you want to watch another short story, I recommend this one. It's pretty good. Stay blessed.